Welcome back to the Game Collection. I am SuperDerek, and this is Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition. The Fallout series is a post-apocalyptic, alternate history of the world where the atomic bombs fell across the United States, and most likely across the entire globe as well. The series got its inspiration from the 1988 Interplay title Wasteland, and acts as a spiritual successor, drawing several parallels between characters, places, and events. The first few titles of the Fallout series were PC exclusives by Interplay that I think would be better handled by my buddy Jared over at Avalanche Reviews. So instead, I decided to jump straight into the series' first foray into console gaming with Fallout 3. The Fallout series was bought from Interplay by Bethesda, known for their work in the Elder Scrolls series, who's been cranking out Fallout games for nearly a decade now. Fallout 3, released in 2008, was Bethesda's first foray into the world of post-apocalyptia, and to say that the game was a bit of a departure from the first couple of entries in the series would be a bit of an understatement. Bethesda built Fallout 3 on the same engine as Oblivion and took combat from a turn-based affair to a full-on first-person shooter RPG. And here I'd like to extend my sincerest condolences to fans of the original titles. I know how it feels to have one of your favorite series bastardized for the sake of mass appeal. But while Fallout 3 and beyond aren't necessarily the games that you fell in love with, I still think Fallout 3 has merits that allow it to stand on its own two legs. Fallout 3 takes place in a post-apocalyptic Washington, D.C., where food, water, and people are irradiated from a nuclear holocaust 200 years past, and things, as one might expect, aren't pretty. Some people were spared the horrors of the bombs dropping by seeking safety in fallout shelters known as vaults. Others managed to survive through other means, banded together and formed tribes and found new and creative ways to kill each other, because as we all know by now, war never changes. Our story picks up with the son of a scientist being born and gradually growing up within Vault 101. One day your father unexpectedly leaves the vault, plunging your world into chaos. You too escape the vault in the confusion and set out to do whatever the heck you want. Because, like Oblivion and Morrowind before it, Fallout 3 is one of those games where you can pretty much skip the main questline should you so desire. The story of Fallout 3 is crafted by the player, stumbling across the odd questline by accident, or exploring a sewer, or abandoned comic book studio. Because the game is so open-ended, the game experience feels more like a collection of memorable events rather than a cohesive storyline, of which I did have many. The open-ended way in which you can handle these situations you find yourself in means you can solve quests any number of ways. Many dialogue options are hidden until you've passed a skill check that might result in you receiving different rewards, or proposing more elegant solutions to problems, or just unique dialogue for further character development. The combat of Fallout 3 plays a lot like a bog-standard first-person shooter, point and shoot, but there's a system that was brought over from Fallout 1 and 2 called VATS, which assists your character by stopping time for a moment and allowing you to view enemy stats, your projected accuracy, confirm a target, and then let loose a few skill shots. If that sounds overpowered, it's because it pretty much is, but it requires action points, which are limited and regenerate pretty slowly, so you have to pick your moments wisely. Your weapons and armor within the wasteland are generally in terrible condition and degrade in effectiveness and accuracy the longer you go. It's therefore important to perform maintenance on your equipment throughout the game by combining the weapons you find on the corpses of your foes with the equipment that you have to improve their overall condition. This mechanic really helps you feel like a scavenger just doing your best to piece together survival tools from the ruins of a crumbling past. Speaking of the ruins of a crumbling past, have you noticed that this world looks kind of green? It's because it definitely is. Everything has this greenish glow to it, which I'm not sure if it's there to simulate the atmosphere following a nuclear holocaust or what, but it's something that kinda brings me down after an extended play session. But on the bright side, it does add to that hopeless ambiance of the world Bethesda put together. Some of my favorite touches within the world designs are the set pieces, flyers and signs here or there that ooze of the 1950s vision of the future, with the perfect blend of tongue-in-cheek McCarthyism. However, I think that Bethesda took a step backward by introducing invisible walls into the world of Fallout 3. The world was sprawling though, and maybe needed to be segmented a bit, but I think there are cleaner ways of accomplishing this. The visuals of Fallout 3 are a marked improvement over those found in Oblivion, where the people in Fallout 3 look a bit less like walking potatoes and more like actual people, for the most part at least. The ruins of the Capital Wasteland are convincing and impressively detailed, but with Bethesda Studios being a 30-minute drive from DC, I suppose they had plenty of reference material available. Fallout 3 introduced a slew of new voice talent to Bethesda's games, which really helped with immersion and was a very necessary improvement over Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Liam Neeson even lends his voice talent to the father of our hero, and does a stellar job.
The Overseer gave you your Pip-Boy, and you're old enough to do some work, so I figure you're old enough for this. Your own BB gun.
The soundtrack was also a nicely curated playlist of popular songs from the 50s that I would love to feature in this review, but if my streaming sessions are any indicator, that would be a terrible idea. Fallout 3 gave me an appreciation for songs and musicians that I likely would never have given a listen. And what Bethesda game review would be complete without talking about bugs. As is tradition, Fallout 3 had more than its fair share of bugs, locking up my PS3 on a few occasions. As you play through Fallout 3, your save file gradually grows and grows. As it nears 10 megabytes in size, you start encountering more bugs and loading or saving glitches. In some of the post-game DLC, I would experience frame rate dips into the seconds per frame range. But despite all of this, Fallout 3 was a hell of an experience when it launched and has held up pretty well over the years. It should be noted that you can probably avoid these bugs by simply playing on PC with patches by the amazing modding community. The main questline within Fallout 3 had its moments, but in the end left me feeling a bit underwhelmed on my first playthrough years ago. Hero saves the day, fade to white, roll credits, return to the main screen with no post-game content, but this was solved through various DLC packs that you could purchase through the PlayStation Network or Xbox Live. But for players interested in the full experience today, I recommend picking up the Game of the Year edition, which bundles along with the game several DLC expansion packs, which I've found to be some of the most enjoyable content of the game. And considering that it's only $10 on both the PS3 or Xbox 360, why buy anything else? Fallout 3 was a lot of fun to play through and a great change of pace. I easily could have sank another 100 hours into the game, but eventually this review's gotta come out sometime, and I've got pretty big plans for my next review. But any game that's able to hold my attention for over 100 hours has easily earned itself a spot in the game collection.
Ever want to know why I feel the way I do? Check out my playthrough by following the annotation in the lower right. If you'd like to support the show, consider becoming a patron for access to cut and behind the scenes content, status updates, and video commentaries just like these awesome people.